Engineer Aqua. And today's topic is diabetes and blood pressure. And I'm sure you all agree that this is something that is very common in our community. So this is the reason why we thought, yes, it's definitely a very relevant topic for us to choose. So without further ado, sorry for the slight delay, obviously problems with the IT, but we got there in the end. So without any further ado, I'll pass the mic on to the sisters and we will make a start.
Hello, good evening. Looks like the sisters are still coming. It's a privilege to come and actually have a talk with all of you. It's very important to raise the awareness and how to get our lifestyle in check, really. So we will be talking. I'll be doing the blood pressure aspect of the health issues, and my sister Angelina is going to be doing the diabetes, and she will do all the introduction. I'm a nurse and a midwife, and I'm an FGM specialist as well. So, but obviously for the purpose of the meeting today, we'll be looking at the blood pressure, a bit of, explanation of what blood pressure really is. We all know blood pressure, but we need to have a little bit understanding so that we will know what lifestyle we would readjust the way we think, the way we, our lifestyles to it. So what is blood pressure? We say it's, blood pressure is recorded as systolic. For those of you who have no medical background, it's systolic and diastolic. And in other words, our parents will say the top bit and the bottom bit. So the systolic is the force at which your heart pumps blood around your body. So that is the reading on the top. So when they say high blood pressure, you can understand that your heart is pumping the blood. So depending on that pressure that the heart is able to circulate the blood around your body, that reading is what will mean your systolic blood pressure. Now, the diastolic pressure is the resistance to the blood flow in the vessels. So as the blood is being pushed, if your lifestyle or the way, sometimes it can be genetical or it can be hereditary. So the way the pressure in your vessels, if the pressure in your vessels is actually constricted, that will show. So together, the top reading and the bottom reading will determine whether you have blood pressure. And it's saying that systolic, the diastolic is the resistance to the blood flow in the blood vessel. This is very, very key, because if your blood vessels are all blocked, and depending on your lifestyle or whatever reason, then that means when the heart is pumping, remember the reading on the top, the systolic reading on the top, if the blood is not able to push, the heart is not able to push the blood into the other organs of the body. And also the bottom reading, if the vessels are constricted, in other words, it's not free enough to allow the blood to flow, there will be problem, which is mean the blood pressure, your blood pressure reading will not be within the normal. So they are both measured in milliliters of mercury. So what is high blood pressure? High blood pressure is considered to be, as the reading, you might get a reading of 140/90 millimeters per mercury, or even higher than that. Some people, blood pressure reading could be very, very high. Some people, blood pressure reading could be very, very higher than that. This is dependent on age as well. So here it says ideal blood pressure is usually considered to be between 90 and 60 millimeters per mercury, or 120 or 80 over 80 millimeters per mercury. But this will be dependent on the individual. Blood pressure readings of 140 over 80 millimeters per mercury could mean you are at risk of developing high blood pressure. So if you do not take steps to keep your blood pressure under control, so when you go and they check your blood pressure reading and you are not on any medication and it's having a reading of 140 over 90, then you need to be very careful. You need to be able to check your lifestyle, make sure you're doing exercises, and check, your alcohol intake. And lifestyle involves everything. Okay. And also said everyone's blood pressure will be slightly different. What is considered low or high for you may be normal for someone else. So you might get somebody whose blood pressure might be 140 over 90, and it might be normal for them because they are on medication. So if they are not on medication and their blood pressure reading is like 140 over 90, not on medication, then they need to check their lifestyle and be able to do some exercises. Risk of high blood pressure. If your blood pressure is too high, it puts extra strain on your blood vessels, heart, and other organs such as the brain, kidneys, and eyes. Remember I said the top reading is when your heart is actually pushing the blood to the other organs of your body. So if your heart is doing so much, pushing blood, and it's not getting to the other parts of your other organs of your body, and also the bottom bit that we explained, that there is resistance in the vessels to get the blood flow, then that means the other organs of your body will lack oxygen. If you lack oxygen to your brain, then you know what's going to happen. That's why you get people getting stroke and other illnesses. Now, persistent high blood pressure can cause heart attack, which is very common. Every lay person knows that, blood pressure is what causes heart attack. Heart diseases, strokes, heart failure, kidney disease, and many more cardiovascular problems. Any illnesses associated with blood pressure. All adults over 40 are advised to have their blood pressure checked at least every 5 years. Can you show by hands anybody who does that religiously? We know our men. We need to make it a lifestyle. It's not wasting time at the GP. It's not about wasting time. I call it self-MOT. The way we are religious about taking our cars to MOT, that's how we need to check ourselves. We need to at least check into the GP. Actually, I was even surprised when I saw 5 years. 5 years, I feel 5 years is too long, to be honest. Because I would even suggest that yearly you go and have a blood pressure check, and make sure that everything is fine. You can also check your blood pressure at your GP, at some pharmacies, as part of your NHS health checks, some workplaces, or by yourself if you have the monitor. So you can, these days the monitors are, with technology, you can get monitors anywhere and everywhere. You can do that. Now I'm just going to, I have to skip through quickly for my sister to be able to. Now we're doing the lifestyle now. So how do we control our blood pressure? Most of the things we've talked about is the physiological aspect of things. How you need to make sure you're checking your blood pressure at least 5 years, I think, especially with the way our lifestyle is, the way our food is, the content of oil and, sugar and all the rest of things that we have. I think we should make it a habit of really checking it yearly if you can, but 5 years is what the NHS would suggest for all of us. So what you need, the steps you need to take is to reduce the amount of salt you eat and have a generally healthy diet. We all know healthy diet. Sometimes we like cooking, the missus is cooking the jollof instead of using too much oil, because where we come from, we think when the oil is dancing on the food, that means the food is going to be delicious. Not really. We need to check our salt intake. To start off with, it might be very difficult to, eat certain food without salt, but a lifestyle is developed after 21 days. So when you do it religiously, after 21 days it becomes a habit. After 21 days, if you say you're going to cut off salt or sugar, you do it religiously for 21 days, trust me, you will put sugar in your mouth and you'll be like, no, I can't handle it. Your body will automatically reject it. So these are some of the certain steps that we can take to make sure that we're changing our lifestyle and our habits. Cut back on alcohol. Cut back on alcohol and lose weight if you are overweight. These days, the BMI, body mass index, almost everybody is overweight. I think I'm overweight as well. The body mass index, as calculated by the, when you go to the GP and they're doing odd health checks for you, it will say you're overweight. But we need to make sure we haven't, even if you can't go to the gym, do steps or walk in the morning or in the evening, whichever way it fits in your lifestyle. Do some walking, brisk walking. You cut down on the alcohol, you cut down on salt, you cut down on oily foods, and then you try to eat healthy, eating more vegetables and stuff. And then you exercise regularly, cut down on caffeine as well. And if you do smoke, then you need to consider stopping smoking. There are smoking workshops so many everywhere now that will help you to stop smoking. That's almost in a brief, how I'm giving the blood pressure monitoring. So what we will leave with you, if you wouldn't take anything today, at least think of your lifestyle. Cut down on sugar, cut down on, any alcohol, encourage exercise, regular exercises in your daily activities. Also make sure you check your blood pressure with your GP, and if you have monitors, you can get it and check all by yourself as well. So without further ado, I'll just get Angelina to take over because the diabetes is quite intense as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Adams, can I get the gentleman back to put my stuff on there?
I think should we?
Do you want to have a look at it? Because it's nipped out.
Oh,
It's nipped out for 10 minutes or so. See, Uncle,
yeah, that's mine. Yeah. But mine works on the screen. Anyway, whilst they're doing that, we can have a little chat.
Questions?
Yes. Yeah. Do you have any questions for Gina?
For me, yeah.
Yes.
Then, yeah.
Do you have any questions for Gina before we move on to diabetes? Yes. Anyone with any questions? Especially with the lifestyle? Yeah.
You've advised us to cut on the intake of salt and sugar. What about this sweetness that we normally use in place of sugars? What effect does it have on us? In other words, the take of consumption of these sweetness, saccharine, and what not?
Yes. What I would say is that, we all have a saying that too much of everything is bad. Yes, too much of everything. Some people fall back on the sweetness, but honestly, the sweetness, you only need a little bit. But some people might put 3 or 4. And in their mind, they think, because they are not using sugar, this is okay. But it should not be too much. If you use one sweetener in your tea, I don't think it will taste too sweet like you put in natural sugar, like 3 or 4 spoons in there. So I would think in moderation, understand, in moderation, and then you try, and it's changing. It's a mindset thing, to be honest, because sugar really, when you think about it, if you develop a lifestyle of not taking sugar, your brain and your whole system will adjust to it. So it's just changing your mindstyle and gradually reducing the intake. but not too much. If you have one, some people will have only, they will say, I need only 2 sweetener in my tea. Why don't you start with one?
Yes. What Gina is saying is very true, but there are a lot of research articles that tells us that this sweetness and aspartame have their own hidden agendas. So to be on the safe side, from where we come from, Africa especially, we've got the high propensity of getting things like high blood pressure and cholesterol. And one of the things that if you can avoid it, then do, rather than substitute, avoid it. Yeah, avoid the sugar completely. And, you know, start maybe, if you have 3 cups of tea a day, maybe start with avoiding sugar in one of them. And then gradually, you realize that you then stop. You put sugar in the second cup, and before you know it, you're not using sugar at all. Yeah. So try and reduce the sugar intake rather than substitute it. Because from what I've read about this sweetness with the aspartame, there is a lot of research articles that say aspartame is actually poisonous. But this is something that the Food Federation will not tell you. You know, because it's become a pharmacological thing that they do. So I would say avoid it if you can. Little by little steps, baby steps. We are not saying go and do everything today. Alcohol has also got sugar in it, so not only are you depriving yourself of sugar if you don't put sugar in your tea, you are, maybe if you're the type that have alcohol has sugar as well. So you're getting the sugar somewhere else.
What about honey or brown sugar?
They're actually a better option, but again, reduce it. Have a little bit at a time, you know. I think sometimes we have to begin to love our body. Yeah, we have to begin to look after our body in a way that this is all we got, right? And everything is connected. So if we don't look after it, one organ can affect the other. And things like your heart. The heart is the main engine for us, the heart and the brain. And the blood vessels that flow through it is what actually gets our brains to work. So if the vessels are being clogged up because you're having sugar and fat and all of that, then eventually, and some of these things are very gradual accumulations. You will see tomorrow, it's gradual. And then in Ghana especially, they often will say, I don't know whether any of you speak Ghanaian, oh, no, yo, and the pay was to them. You know, and a lot of them are just going to sleep, not waking up because they had heart attack in the night. And they went to work the day before. So we really need to, and walking. We're not saying go to the gym, you know, just little walking here and there, you know, walking. Walk to the shop if you can. You know, if you live 15 yards from a place of driving, taking a bus, try and walk. The fresh air alone will energize you, okay? Because as we get older, our body begins to slow down, if I can use that term, slow down, yeah? Okay, so you try and do yourself a favor. You're doing yourself a favor, you're doing your body a favor. You know, you've been in this country, you've worked hard, live a little bit longer. That's all I'll say. All right? And I'll tell you more about the diabetes bit as well. Okay? All right. I'll hand you over to Gina. Any more questions for the blood pressure?
Yes.
Yeah.
The cholesterol. What do we do to avoid that?
Oh.
Is it the same exercise?
Okay. I can use myself as a disclosure for what cholesterol do. I went to my GP, and one reading gave a very high cholesterol results. And then I said to myself, boy, I need to watch what I eat. And for 1 month, religiously, I was checking every single food that I put in my mouth. I checked my cholesterol level again, it went back to 0. It went back to normal. When I went to the GP and I said, can you check it again? He said, no, I'm not going to check it because it's a lifestyle. You will come back next 2 years and it might go up. But I did a religious check, and when I went and checked the results came back as nothing. I don't have no cholesterol. So lifestyle is, we can't emphasize enough, lifestyle is key. And it is possible. It's possible, you can do it. If you say you set your mind to stop something, just go with it.
But can you tell them exactly what you did?
Right. Prawns has high cholesterol. So I just decided, first of prawns.
Prawns, yeah. Shrimp.
Shrimp. Egg, now so. The moon some doors. And I was like, like palm,
Palm oil.
Palm
oil.
Palm oil. As I say, palm oil and certain foods I try to cut down on all the fatty foods, oil and stuff. Doesn't mean I don't eat it now. And there is still a debate about eggs, the egg yolk. That I don't want to go there because it's debatable. But the prawns, the saturated fat oil and stuff like that, please. I stayed out of it. I rechecked my cholesterol level and it's nothing. It's nothing. There was nothing there. So
I have a question on the diet. Obviously you spoke about we should try and eat healthy. Are there any particular vegetables or anything that you would recommend to try and reduce blood pressure? Because, vegetables is important.
Yeah.
Subject, isn't it? Any particular ones that you would recommend?
for blood pressure, to be honest with you, vegetables do well, like broccolis, all the greens, contemporary, if you can afford, buy these, the contemporary spinach. Eat all the greens. You can eat as much as you can. Any vegetables that you really like, to be honest with you, it would help. But you see, you don't want to be eating only that, because you want to, it has to be a balanced diet. But the fatty foods and the prawns and all the saturated abenquai and all that kind of stuff, it doesn't mean you should not eat it. But you can do your abenquai and then maybe you scoop all the oil. You understand? So it's just changing little things that will help.
I have a question. When is the best time to take blood pressure? Because obviously blood pressure goes up and down during the day. So
Yes.
is there like a best time to take it?
I think in the morning is good.
Okay.
After a hard day's work,
Yeah.
it becomes something else.
Yeah, your blood pressure.
When blood pressure, it fluctuates, because when you hear bad news, it shoots up. Some people go to the hospital and just by the sight of doctors, they can never get their blood pressure down. And as soon as they walk out of the hospital, we call it white coat syndrome. Just seeing nurses and doctors going up, blood pressure starts sitting there, So, and, try and, there are some stresses. Stress can get your blood pressure up. If you have bills and you have not paid them and it's still sitting at the back of your mind, forever sitting there, one issue. And it is all social implications as well. Can shoot your blood pressure up. Something you don't have, some social complications. Family matters, family problems can shoot your blood pressure up. Deal with situation as it comes, rather than thinking of the future and you can't even do anything about it. For 10 years, you have not been able to do nothing about it. So why worry now for it to affect your life?
What about if you take regular the habit of taking your own blood pressure, and then when you take it, it's all right. So when you go to the doctor, the doctor tell you different, your doctor tells you it's high.
Like white coat syndrome. You are home in your relaxed environment. You don't see the doctor's face. You understand?
No,
They have to,
you have to take option. You have to take either a doctor's or the other. So you stick to your.
sometimes the monitors we use are very sensitive. We that we work in the hospital, sometimes I might take a blood pressure reading now and it might give me 180 or let's say 150 over 90. I know very well that that's not the person's blood pressure. So I will recheck it. If I recheck it again, it gives me 149 over 80. I will recheck it again, knowing, and that is based on when your normal blood pressure, maybe previous blood pressure was okay. But when you come to the hospital, it's like lingering around that. Then we go back to Florence Nightingale. We do the manual one. Yeah, the manual blood pressure. So when we do the manual blood pressure and check, you would realize that it has actually gone to the normal. So the monitors that you can buy and use, when you check and make sure you keep your hands still, because the slightest move will give you some ridiculous reading. Yeah. So you become aware of that. But if you do it, you check it second time, you check it the third time, and it's still giving you the same reading, my dear, you need to go check at the GP. Yeah, because it might be giving you a sign. And there are certain signs that you don't want to take for granted. You're having sharp pain in your hand and it's radiating to your back, you know, and every now and again you have dizzy spells and stuff like that. Don't take it lightly. Go check up. You know, we're fortunate to be in a country where, you know, the NHS is there, there are services there, you can even do walking place that they could to check your blood pressure. But you're walking around with, every now and again you get sharp pain in your arm and it's radiating to your left and everywhere, and you get tingling in your mouth, you understand? And you're ignoring it. It's not good. You cannot afford to ignore. There are certain steps that you might take that will say, you know, prolong your lifestyle. You know?
What are you suggesting? You are not going to see the doctor or what?
Sorry?
On in that situation, I'm saying that you go and see a doctor.
The situation of checking your blood
There's
pressure.
nothing to see.
Oh yes. So if you have a pain every now and again, let's say this week you've had it about 2 times, pain here, even sometimes it makes you want to sit down and like take a little breathe before you can carry on with your daily activity. Why would you sit home and not check yourself in your GP? And this is why sometimes we hear, oh, I spoke to him or her this morning, and because you look, our body is such that it will not just give way like that. There are signs and symptoms that it will give you that you need to take certain steps. It will warn you. The heart will warn you. You are breathless, you can't breathe properly, you know, you're doing certain things, the usual chores you do normally, you realize that you can't do them anymore. Last week I was able to do things, now I'm slowing down, walking down the step, I'm tired, I'm panting for her and I'm gasping for her. All those things, and you're sweating and all that kind of stuff. You need to check yourself. To the GP. Go to A&E if your GP is slow like mine. Yeah, sometimes I don't even go to my GP. I'll go and sit in A&E, I don't care. I sit there till they see me. And then they will give him the feedback of what they've done for me. Make it a habit. You're paying taxes. Why would you sit there for some illness to come and eat you up? Any more questions? Yes?
You all okay? Yeah? Okay.